From channeling the haunting era of Ted Bundy,
The papers call him the grabber.
to being called better than The Purge and Paranormal Activity,
Oh my god!
here's why The Black Phone is even scarier than any one of us could have anticipated. Put it like this: you have the script for The Black Phone, and you get offered the opportunity to direct Doctor Strange 2. What do?
I've come to bargain.
For director and writer Scott Derrickson, he thought he could do both. In fact, he asked his co-writer C. Robert Cargill if they could hold off The Black Phone for a few years to get the MCU movie done first. Well, that's where things got a little sticky. Not because anyone disagreed on the order of priority, quite the contrary actually. It was because Scott realized that Marvel Studios wanted to make something else, something much different from what he envisioned, and they butted heads constantly. As Scott's co-writer told Cinema Blend, it was creative differences. Scott wanted to do one movie and Marvel wanted to do another movie. For Scott, he was frustrated that studio clashes were becoming an everyday thing, and he kept thinking back to the movie he really wanted to do, and that was The Black Phone. So, he did this to the project. Just kidding. He actually just waved goodbye to the MCU and headed back to work on his true love, horror. Now, how much faith do you have to have in your movie to turn down a blockbuster like Doctor Strange 2? Scott working with Cargill isn't a new thing, as they've been constant collaborators throughout the years. Another person who isn't a stranger to either of them is Ethan Hawke, who worked with the pair on the horror film Sinister. And if you haven't watched that yet, well, you're missing out on a film that Variety described as the sort of tale that would paralyze kids' psyches.
Holy.
And that's a pretty accurate assessment of it in a nutshell. It was utterly terrifying, and easily one of the best horror movies of the past decade. More importantly, it showcased how these three are capable of creating magic when put on a set together. Sinister didn't need a huge budget or elaborate special effects to scare you. It was the frightening story and outstanding performances that put you on the edge of your seat and glued your eyes to the screen. The Black Phone looks set to follow a similar template too, as it cost just under $20 million to make. It isn't a crazy budget, nor does it have to be, as it relies more on the quality of filmmaking than all the bells and whistles. Plus, it also helps that its source material is outstandingly good in the first place. And speaking of which, The Black Phone is based on the short story written by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. While Joe isn't the household name that his father is, he has produced incredible work such as Horns, which became a motion picture starring Daniel Radcliffe, and Lock and Key, which is a big hit TV show on Netflix. What Joe does really well is to write short stories that keep you hooked until the end.
The best thing about writing short stories is you can tell a short story that's pretty dark and then ends with a final twist of the knife.
You can't escape the terror, but you're curious to find out more since you're so far down the rabbit hole as it is. Undoubtedly, horror does run in his blood, but he also tries to put his own spin on it. If you've ever read The Black Phone, you'll instantly know just how scary Ethan Hawke's kidnapper is in the source material. However, there's also an element of hope in the story, as the dead children try to help each other. But yeah, let's not get into too many spoilers here, since all of this has been in the trailer and you need to see the movie for yourself. At the end of the day, the story is also simple, which is what drew Scott to it in the first place and got his mind racing about adaptations. He read the story about 15 years ago, and he was instantly attracted to it, since he found many parallels between it and his own life. Speaking to Empire, Scott said the following: "It was my attempt to capture the feeling of my own childhood. I grew up in a working class neighborhood that was quite violent. It was also the era of Ted Bundy sweeping through Colorado, where the movie is set, and North Denver, where I grew up. Like any good horror story, The Black Phone is relatable and feels like something that could happen in any neighborhood around the world."
Would you like to see a magic trick?
There's just an air of fear when children disappear, and it's something that happens on a daily basis. It's probably every parent's greatest fear, and this is something that's far scarier and haunting than any demon or monster could ever be. Sorry, Captain Howdy, just splitting the facts here. It also helps when the big shot realizing the film is just as excited and terrified about the project as everyone else involved. While Jason Blum from Blumhouse has a good history with Scott, having worked together in the past, his level of anticipation for The Black Phone is on another level.
It's definitely one of the creepiest movies we've ever done.
In an interview, Ethan Hawke revealed that Jason told him Sinister was the scariest movie he'd ever worked on, but he believes it has now been eclipsed by this latest production. For Jason, The Black Phone has set a new bar in horror. Wow, talk about the highest praise, especially considering the fact that Blumhouse has released films like Paranormal Activity, Insidious, Halloween, and The Purge, among other classics. If the black phone is more frightening than all of these, then just how scary is it? You better pack an extra pair of underwear before you watch it, you know, just in case. As it turns out, it isn't only Jason who's a big fan of the film, as there's another prominent filmmaker who's given it his stamp of approval. Mike Flanagan was lucky enough to watch it earlier than the rest of us and gushed about it on his Twitter account, calling it an exceptional adaptation of Joe Hill's short story that's harrowing, rich, funny, and terrifying in equal measure. Now that's some high praise considering who it's come from. Mike not only did The Haunting of Hill House and Dr. Sleep, but he's also the mastermind behind Midnight Mass on Netflix. In case you haven't seen it, it's become one of the most critically lauded horror series in years, with praise coming from how layered and how powerful it is. So, if you have the creator of that show telling you how good another horror movie is, you just know that The Black Phone is something special.
I mean, what's a little crazy between friends, right?
Not sure about you, but there's a nervous excitement brewing in us to watch this film already. It sounds like it could very well be the best horror movie of the year. Now that the mood is scary, let's get a little hairy with another video, specifically about all the differences between the Teen Wolf movie and TV show. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and stay awesome!